Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to the power of God. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 6, which is entitled Puja Shukta Confirmed. And this morning we're talking from text 17. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Givadadari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givadadari, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopiya Vallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satasisimaris Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shiro Pariki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satasisimaris Divine Grace Shiro Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Prabhupada Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Devi Swami Niti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartmane Sri Gaurakarva Shakti Bhakti Riti Namane Narayana Namaskricha Narunte Van Naruttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gudigayat Nashta Prayeswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavato Uttamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 17. Sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ pratapaṁ prāṇo bahiṣya pratapaty asau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs antar bahiḥ pumān sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ pratapaṁ prāṇo bahiṣya pratapaty asau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs tapatyanta bahiḥ pumān sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ prāṇo bahiṣya pratapantyasau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs tapatyanta bahiḥ pumān. Hare Krishna.
sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ pratapan prāṇo bahiṣya pratapatyasau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs tapaty antar pumān. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ pratapam prāṇo bahiṣ pratapatyasau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs tapaty antar pumān. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anyone else?
sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ prāṇo bahiṣ pratapatyasau evaṁ virājaṁ pratapaṁs antar pumān.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll do word for word. Sva-dhiṣṇyaṁ, radiation. Pratapan, by expansion. Prāṇo, living energy. Bahiḥ, external. Cha, also. Pratapaty, illuminated. Asau, the sun. Evaṁ, in the same way. Virājaṁ, the universal form. Pratapan, by expansion of. Tapaty, enlivens. Antar, internally. Bahiḥ, externally. Pumān, the Supreme Personality. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding its universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The universal form of the Lord, or the impersonal feature of the Lord, known as the Brahmajyoti, is clearly explained here and compared to the radiation of the sun. The sunshine may expand all over the universe, but the source of the sunshine, namely the sun planet or the deity known as Surya Narayan, is the basis of such radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the basis of the impersonal Brahmajyoti radiation, or the impersonal feature of the Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 27. So, the universal form of the Lord is the secondary imagination of the impersonal form of the Lord. But the primary form of the Lord is Shyamasundara, with two hands playing on his eternal flute. 75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sky, Tripad Vibhuti, and 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of the material universes. This is also explained and stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called his internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion is called the external energy of the Lord. The living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as the material expansions are his marginal energy, Tatasha Shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, external or internal. Those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of the external expansion are called the conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of residents of the internal expansions in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy, and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned souls. Oma Ginati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Umilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guratiche Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The English translation again. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding its universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. So, this is also a very, very nice description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's power and his decision and the way he does things. It is stated here, an analogy is given also about the sun. Internally and externally, the sun has a particular duty. But for him, for the sun and the sun god, Surya, they have a particular duty. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his case, he does things by his own will. It's not a duty necessarily. It's the way he's a Supreme Personality. The Supreme Personality just does things based on what he wants to with his own reasoning. So the sun is very nicely an analogy to the situation, but the sun is also controlled, whereas the Supreme Personality of God is not controlled. He is a Supreme Controller. That is the difference. He maintains everything. The one Supreme Personality maintains all that there is. Nitya-nityanam, titanam. So the one, Eko Bahuna Yovedadati Kaman, the one Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains everything. So in the purport, the Prabhupada begins to describe the universal form of the Lord. It's also called the impersonal feature of the Lord. It's not like the personal feature, which he describes later on. The impersonal feature of the Lord is known as the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for just knowledge's sake, the reflection of the Brahmajyoti is what we call the sun. And there is one sun for every material universe. But they're all reflections of the Brahmajyoti, the spiritual effulgence coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead's body. Some people, the impersonalists, think that's the all in all. They cannot perceive of a personal God. They just look at the Brahmajyoti, and the aim is to merge into the Brahmajyoti. We'll talk a little bit more about them and what you should and should not do in situations like that, what you may encounter. So the extent the sunshine, the Prabhupada says, may expand all over the universe. But the source of it, the deity known as Surya, or sometimes the demigod Surya, that he's the basis of that. And he also controls the movement of the sun. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in like manner, he also has this impersonal Brahmajyoti radiation. And it is, in fact, confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, as Srila Prabhupada talked about, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, and text 27. Now, yes, the universal form of the Lord, as we said in earlier classes, is an imagination, but it is an important imagination in that those who are impersonal can begin to look at the way in which the material manifestation or material creation has come about. And then when it's put into some sort of a structure that is human looking, then they can relate to it. Because they may be thinking about the impersonal form. They may be connected to the thought of impersonal form, but they also know the planets. So if the planets are used and you're told, okay, the higher planets up to Brahmaloka is the upper part of the body, the medium planets in the waist area, and the legs and down to the foot are the lower planets, the lower parts of the planets in the universe, the planetary systems, the 7 planetary systems in the lower part. Then they give some sort of a form to these planets, and from there one can be slowly brought into the front. As it says, the universal form, the front part of it, which means the personal form of the Lord. There has been stress here by Srila Prabhupada about tripad vibhuti. The spiritual sky is 75% of all there is. Expansive radiation of the Lord is called the spiritual planets or the spiritual sky as a whole. Tripad. Three means three. So the spiritual sky is 3 times the size of the material sky. The spiritual world is 3 times the size of the material world. Vibhuti means opulence, tripad vibhuti. The Lord's triple opulence and the single opulence. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj describes it gives an analogy of a circle divided into 4. If you divide one part through the center of a circle, from one end of the circle to the other one, which is called a diameter, and then 90 degrees, you divide again, going this time first vertical and then horizontal. In both cases to the center of the circle. Then you get 4 sections. So, and they're called quadrants. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur uses uni-quadrantal and tri-quadrantal, 4 quadrants. 3 belong to the spiritual and 1 belongs to the material. So that's another way of looking at it, tripad vibhuti. So, of course, in percentages, 3 and 1 will be 75% and 25%, all describing the same thing in different ways. So, 75% of the expansion is called his internal energy, and 25% of the Lord's expansion is called the external energy. That is why the text itself talks about the internal and the external. Lord maintaining everything in the creation, both internally, meaning the 75%, and externally, meaning the 25%. Internally meaning the spiritual, and externally meaning the material. We also talk about Supreme Personality of Godhead through Srila Prabhupada's teachings, that the external is also the separated energy. He definitely enjoys his pastimes always through his internal energy. External energy is for the conditioned souls. But even that, he gives us so much mercy by coming in his features, super soul, to guide those who are in the external energy to go back to the Supreme Lord's abode, the spiritual sky, which is the internal energy. So the primary form of the Lord is Shyamasundara, personal, 2 hands, 2 legs, just like us. We are from his form. Our form as humans are from the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And he plays on his transcendental and eternal flute. Again, he does that to charm the residents of Raj. The gopis, they're all very much attracted. Sri Prabhupada explains that Krishna has so many opulences. Some of them have been just summarized for us so we can use our relatively tiny brains to have some understanding of it, but Krishna is unlimited. So many things are connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead's opulence. And he describes it in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 42, talking about when he's explaining how things are laid out to Arjuna as far as the creation goes. He stops at some point and says, why even go through the whole thing? By a tiny fragment of myself, my power, I pervade everything. I cover everything. Tiny fragment of the Lord is what is responsible for this whole material creation, a tiny fragment. Another place he says is just a spark of my splendor. So the Lord is unlimited. He is incredible. And we are very tiny and insignificant. So that is our position. Although the Lord, by his own supreme will, has given us some small, very tiny, very, very, very tiny independence. But we really are dependent on the Lord. If we use that little independence irresponsibly, then we suffer. We used it irresponsibly in the spiritual world by claiming to want to be at Krishna's position. After all has been described, how wonderful he is and how much power he has. We had the nerve to want to be talking about being at the level of him, being the boss. So then we got put in the material world to try to be boss here. But by the Lord's mercy, also, he's set up the material world in such a way that after a while of trying to struggle and struggle and struggle, we'll be frustrated and begin to question, why am I even doing this? Why is life this way here? Why is there so much suffering? Even if it's not happening to me, like it's happening to others, why is it happening to others to that extent? If we're sensitive, we'll even invite those kind of questions to our minds. This is not right. Yes, if we think that way, then Krishna arranges to tell you what the truth is and why you wind up here, why we wound up here, and what we can do to get out of the situation. Then our eyes become open and we see things as they are. So, Srila Prabhupada first quotes Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 27, which we'll spend some time on. But also, the residents, living entities, are in the marginal energy, meaning margin is like a border. So if you imagine a border between light and darkness, it's one way to look at it. Darkness meaning the material energy, the false, and the light meaning the true. False in terms of it's there, darkness is darkness, but if it's going to give you, if you think you're going to be happy in darkness, then you're deceiving yourself. That's the falsity. In light, much more is known, much more is seen, much more is possible. But in darkness, we may be in it, but we can't do much. Many things are hidden from us. Case in point, the spiritual world is hidden from us. We know of it, but we don't see it because we are in the material or the dark side of things. So to get out of that will give us the happiness that we seek because we are from the light. We are from the spiritual world. We are spiritual beings and naturally we want to be happy. But one doesn't get happy in a dark and difficult place. You can just try to manage to get around, which is exactly what we're doing. Srila Prabhupada explained that the living entities in totality, about 99% of them are still in the spiritual world. So even though the material world is 1/4 and the spiritual world is 3/4, so it's a 3-to-1 ratio, a good many, is not like 3/4 of living entities are living in the spiritual world and 1/4 are living in the material world. Way more than that, almost 99 and even and then some percent of living entities are still in the spiritual world. They are happy to be there and can't blame them when now the spiritual world is described to us to some extent. We realize this is not the place to be. Some people have realized that, and some people are still trying to manage in this darkness to try to find some sort of peace, some sort of happiness. So in Bhagavad Gita, the one that Srila Prabhupada quoted, chapter 14, the most material nature, that's the title of it. Text 27, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amitasya vayasya cha svatastasya cha dharmasya sukha svai kanti kasya cha. Srila Prabhupada translates this Krishna is speaking, and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Krishna says he's the basis of impersonal Brahma, which means the effulgence from the Lord. The effulgence of the Lord is immortal, it is imperishable, it is eternal. And one that goes there will be peaceful, but they won't have any relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no ras, not in the Brahma Jyoti. It's also explained in different parts of the Shastra that when a person, a soul, believes in the impersonal Lord, the Mayavad philosophy, which is actually quite terrible because they compare themselves with the Lord, the very thing that got us in the material world, they're still thinking I have to be at the level of God. But anyway, they go to this, they merge the impersonal. The soul now that's in our bodies, a real person, is actually atomic in size, very small. When we are to go back to the spiritual world, and I said when, because when a person becomes a devotee, as Radha Govinda Maharaj explained, they will definitely wind up in the spiritual world. It's just a question of whether it's after this body or we'll come back another body before we go back to the spiritual world. But everybody that says yes to Krishna goes back to the spiritual world at some lifetime, either this one or a few lifetimes after that or the next one. So in the spiritual world, there are relationships, several relationships under 5 main categories. But in the, let's stay with the spiritual world still. The soul, which is atomic, expands to its, what you call the Suddha Swarup, the original size and original shape of this living entity, the soul, like that, in the spiritual world. But right now it's atomic in size, and if a person still believes the Mayavad philosophy, wanting to merge to this with the effulgence, then that size, the atomic size, stays the same. It doesn't expand. Only when the person goes back to the spiritual world, to the spiritual planets, not the effulgence, but the spiritual planets, then Krishna allows the spiritual body to develop to its fullness. And it's not like it takes a while. Like we go through pregnancy, women go through pregnancy. No, it's instant. It's instant. And the person can go to the spiritual world. That is if we've been serious with the Bhakti Yoga do's and don'ts, and we've taken it very, very seriously in our lives, which will explain some of also with a little time that's left. So Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. To realize that we are spirit souls, that's the beginning. And to understand that the effulgence of the Lord is also called the Brahma Jyoti. The beginning. Paramatma, who the yogis, they meditate on to see the Paramatma, the super soul. That's the second stage in transcendental realization. And the final stage of ultimate realization is the absolute personality of Godhead, or the absolute truth. So the Lord impregnates this material nature with the fragments of the superior nature that is us. And by the spiritual touch, we're able to manage based on what our desires are in the material nature. So living entity can become conditioned by coming into this material nature. But when we begin to cultivate spiritual knowledge like we're doing now through hearing, then we can elevate ourselves from the position of material existence and gradually rise up to the Brahman conception. Then that's the first stage of self-realization. Then up to the second stage, because the first stage is not perfect. It's not perfect realization. But it's based on what the person wants. If they want to go higher, they can. If not, then they'll be merging into the effulgence. But when you go higher to the Paramatma realization, then even higher still, we go to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those who are devotees, the reason we're saying that is that those who are devotees now and relating to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a person, they have been through this kind of realization in lifetimes before. So now we can just simply hear about it, but not have any desire to stay in the Paramatma realization or the effulgence, Brahmajyoti type or impersonal realization. We are immediately ready to relate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a person, the ultimate stage. Mm-hmm. So we had done some work in previous lifetimes, and that's why Srila Prabhupada could just simply translate to us, and we immediately accept the ultimate stage of relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. So one doesn't become a devotee just out of the blue. There is some work that's done in previous lifetimes to get us to the point. That also explains why there are far fewer devotees compared to the population in this particular planet. Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising, as Srila Prabhupada sometimes asked the question, sometime back in Morning Walk, how come, if this is such a good philosophy, realization, lifestyle that has a wonderful, wonderful conclusion for us, how come so many people aren't doing it? Srila Prabhupada turned and said, if you're selling diamonds in a store, how many people are going to come? So the devotee guys say, yeah, people don't rush to a diamond store the way they go to Walmart. Mm-hmm. So, of course, diamonds are very valuable. But you have to get yourself to a particular stage to want it and to be able to also afford it. That's why the devotees are fewer. But what we have is the highest, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. So it takes time to elevate up to that particular point. There are some things that we've done in the previous, of course, we don't remember our previous lifetimes, but there was definitely work that we put in order to get to this point. We're saying that to say there's no reason to play with it. Take advantage of it, because not many people have gotten to the point that we are at. Mm-hmm. Some people, oh yeah, we just have this material life, and after we have some time, we'll do something spiritual. No, if we do that, we're sabotaging ourselves. Mm-hmm. So this is a huge opportunity. We have to take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. When someone only stays at the Brahman level, the Brahmajyoti level, mm-hmm, there actually is a chance of falling down again. When one goes to the spiritual world, on any of the spiritual planets, they will not fall down to the material world. If a person is from the material, Krishna promises to go to the spiritual world. This is in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15. They don't come back to the material world anymore. And other places in the Bhagavad Gita also stressed the same point. Mm-hmm. So when we hear anyone talking about the ultimate in life being merging into the Supreme's effulgence, you hear merging into, as soon as you hear that, get away as fast as you can from that person. They are Mayavad and they will not help you. Mm-hmm. And they have their arguments. They would even talk about Krishna not being a person, but he comes to the material world. And when he comes to the material world, he takes a body just like we come into the material world and we take a body. Mm-hmm. And they will just try to prove it. Because see, he was born. He was born with Vasudeva and Devaki, and he was open. He would go on and on and on and on and on to try to prove a material aspect of Krishna. But Krishna has says, Janma karma tame divyam, yo janati tattvata. Mm-hmm. My birth and my activities are all spiritual. But those who want to connect Krishna to the material energy like us, then it means they're comparing themselves to the Supreme Personality of God by bringing him down to the material level in their minds. Get away from those people as soon as possible. Immediately go away. There are people who are associated with these three modes. That's us, actually, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we're trying to be rehabilitated into the proper mindset. But when we are associated with those who are in full associated with the three modes, they desire to dominate the material world. That desire will always be there. Because people are still fascinated with the material energy, not realizing that it's taking them through suffering. And so they make excuses for the suffering condition by saying that this is just the way of life. Well, the snow came, so then it came. And Sunday we got, tripped up, as they say in America. Nobody realized that it was coming. And all of a sudden, a small flourish. Next thing you know, and form a thin sheet on the roads and accidents left and right. So many accidents in a short period of time. This is the material world. We are in a suffering condition. And sometimes we try to push it at the back of our minds until the accidents happen. Then we realize this is no place to be. And we try to just do what we can to get over it and go on with our lives. But the fact of the matter is our intelligence is tell us that this is a place where you don't get total peace of mind. So we shouldn't make excuses for the suffering condition, saying this is just the way of life. And if we struggle hard enough, we'll be all right. So with the settling from that mentality that we work hard, we'll be fine. And as soon as we think that way, we don't seek the ultimate truth. Why are we here? Where is our real home? How do we go? Those are all intelligent questions. How do we go there? Finally, we work hard, and people, what happens? Oh, we're going to be very happy when we retire. As soon as we retire, the body is also old simultaneously. We can't work hard anymore. And also the realization begins to hit a materialist that death is around the corner. And not only is death around the corner, it's going to take everything that we work hard for. Take it all. So that's the illusion people are in at the moment, that the material life is going to help us. And especially in the advanced countries, this illusion is far greater, because as long as new gadgets are being produced in these so-called advanced countries, this illusion continues to be prominent, because the new gadgets are sold with the point, it's going to make my life better. Oh, yeah, it's going to be better. See, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. And then the trouble it causes us, that they hide from us. We'll give just one example, the cell phone. It's been advanced and advanced and advanced. We're buying it. It's always more expensive, and there are all other things that it can do. But through all of this, are we ever told that that thing produces microwaves? And depending on where you put it in your head, you're risking cancer. Did they ever tell you that part of it? Oh, they don't. But every one of them is like that. Every one of them puts out microwaves. We wouldn't stick our hand and turn the microwave on, the microwave ovens that we have at home. But we would just put the cell phone right in our ear and have side of our heads, and have the microwaves go straight into our brains. And a lot of people do that. There was one woman that I met at, actually was at a hospital, going for a checkup. And we got to talking. She was a bank manager. And she explained that so I'm saying this for our Matajis who are on here, so they don't do that. That there has been a correlation that's been found between breast cancer and those who sometimes, for whatever the reason is, put their cell phones inside their bras. People who made it a habit of putting the cell phones inside their bras, they came down with breast cancer, because the microwave was just radiating in that area, and it causes, eventually causes that, all of those fake cells, which are called cancer cells, and they build up, and then the disease comes. So it is a smart thing to put it in your pocketbook. Ladies, you carry a pocketbook, keep them there. So, and speaking about microwaves, let's just say a little bit more about it. The effect of the radiation dies in a very short distance. That's for all this in physics, it's like that. So even if you take a cell phone and you just have it in front of you and you have your the speaker on, and you speak to it, and hear also the person that's speaking to you like that, the speakerphone, you don't get the effect of the microwaves much, because even 6, 7, 9 inches or so away from you, the effect is just it dies down. The radiation doesn't go that far. That's the big advantage of this. So you can use regular headphone, and connect it to the cell phone that does not use microwaves. You just use sound waves and they don't cause any problem. Or you can just turn your speaker on the cell phone and listen to that. But don't put it on your head, though. You're just risking brain cancer at some point. Okay, so that's just besides the point. To come back to this. So yeah, people say advanced countries, we're going to be living a prominent, wonderful life, but actually most of these things that are formed have harmful side effects. So yeah, we can make money. Money can buy convenience to some extent, but it can't buy true happiness, and it cannot buy true love. How do we get true love? By association, and guidance by the influence of a spiritual master. The material desire to dominate will get removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental loving service. That's where happiness is. And it's internal happiness. It's spiritual. It comes from the soul when we serve. Why we say the spiritual master? Because the spiritual master has been shown the truth by the Lord. So he's effective in guiding the devotees. It's like speaking to an experienced person. We have Diksha Gurus that give initiation to give us a chance to go back to Godhead. We have Shiksha Gurus who are instructing Gurus. And Lord Chaitanya has charged everyone become a Guru in terms of being a Shiksha Guru. Don't adulterate or change anything that the Lord has taught. Speak it the same way and you'll be effective as a preacher. So it's open to everyone. So devotional service is what makes us happy. And it's very simple, and Srila Prabhupada talks about it in the purport for this Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Always engage in the service of the Lord. We should eat remnants of foodstuff, prasadam, offered to the deity. We should smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and that's so easy. When you come to the temple, there's artik, and at artik time, the flowers will be shown, and everybody will get to smell from the mercy of the Lord, the one that's been offered to the Lord. When you get opportunity, see the places where the Lord has had his transcendental pastimes. Don't go to Disney World. It won't help you in any kind of way. Go to a place of pilgrimage where those who are there can tell you about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Read about different activities of the Lord. The way he reciprocates his love with his devotees. The devotees love him and he loves them back. It's very wonderful to read about it. Chant always that transcendental vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And when the fasting days come, observe them, especially Ekadashi. That's the one that comes every 15 days. So, in our own attitude, we should be patient and we should be enthusiastic. Two very important things. Patient means go by the Lord's time, the way he does things. We depend on him. Stay enthusiastic, because enthusiasm keeps us from being depressed. Enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness is the best thing that helps us to grow. We should be firmly convinced about one thing. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what these rules are and the regulations are, we follow them, because that's what gives happiness. And in doing so, we also have to deal honestly and straightforwardly. Many devotees sabotage their own spiritual creeper just by being dishonest. That is sabotage. One has to be honest. If you decide to be honest, Krishna will lead us to one situation after another, and we will never be embarrassed. Sometimes people tell lies just to cover something, to keep from being embarrassed, or to get somebody to think a different way from what the real truth is. This is dishonesty. But if we're honest, we will never be embarrassed. We just have to learn to, if we've done something wrong, learn to apologize. That's all. And the other person will just leave it alone. And if they don't leave it alone, they are the ones that are demonic, and Krishna will protect us anyway. So honesty, as they say, is the best policy. Mm-hmm. So we deal honestly and straightforwardly. And then, in order to stay in Krishna consciousness, we associate with devotees. That should be all, as much as possible. You give your association to non-devotees to help them to grow if they want to hear about Krishna consciousness. But you don't take this because they were talking about karmic things that won't help you to grow in Krishna consciousness. Your best friend should be a devotee. We've said that a number of times. Your best friend or friends should be devotees. Then we will know what to do and what not to do. So, remember, this is the final thing, always remember to call out to Krishna. Even when we're doing something as simple as yawning, even that, call out Krishna. Sometimes people yawn and then they say something after that. If you yawn, just call the name of Krishna. It helps you to remember Krishna the whole time. Or if something surprises us, again, call Krishna's name. Like that. That way we remember Krishna always, even in situations like that. So Krishna consciousness is the best thing for everybody. And so those who are involved in it are the most fortunate. And if we stay with it and enthuse each other, then we will have the opportunity in the next split second to go to the spiritual world. That's the way they see us. Our time seems to be very long, but in the spiritual world, like a person goes to the spiritual world, the very next, moment, people that they know in the material world have come to join them. That's the way it is in the spiritual world. It won't take a long time. Here, it seems like years and years and years, but the spiritual world is just a moment. So we all have the opportunity to go. It's just a question of taking this process seriously. Then we will find ourselves having done the best thing ever in our lives when we go back to the spiritual world. It's all love and all happiness. Everything is provided. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again for coming on to listen. And we all get spiritual purification that way. This is the time now to unmute yourself, dear devotees. If I want to ask any questions. And the attendance is wonderful. Please keep it up. This is wonderful. 20 yesterday, 19 today. Wonderful. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Please unmute yourself. Any realizations? You can share that also if you want to. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance as always.
Yep, fine. Go to the Papa. And after you, then Jackie.
Yeah, sure. No, I just have a comment.
Yeah.
And the comment is, how important it is for us not to lead a life of a dog. I was just talking to a devotee this morning, how, our lives are so much like an animal. We work 5 days like an animal, and then weekends, we either spend it all or we spend it all on material stuff, whether it be Disney World, whether it be cruises, whether it be zip lining, whether it be, whatever, traveling around whatever it is, we work so hard like an animal. And then we just save all that hours, all that money, and all that PTO just to travel and to enjoy the material world instead of using it in Krishna's service. And then we wonder why we face so many problems. We face so many frustration and anxiety. It's because we are using Krishna's energy in the wrong way. And that's the point that's coming to my mind, is how to use Krishna's energy in Krishna's way as opposed into our way. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your comments. Very, very important comment. We need to make use of every time that we have, every free time that we have in Krishna consciousness, rather than in things that would actually not help us much. Thank you again. Jackie Mataji, please unmute yourself, and after that, Shreya Mataji. Hare Krishna. So please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Jai.
All glory, Shiva Prabhupada.
Oh, good, Shri Prabhupada. Jai.
You mentioned that we have done some work to get here at this practice, and we can't remember what those things were in past life. Give me an example, maybe, of some of the things that we may have done in past lives to get here.
It is explained in the scriptures. When a person begins to take God consciousness seriously, when a person begins the process of God consciousness, they may go through that and probably not do everything that it takes to be successful in it. They'll do some part of it and probably be pulled by the material energy to do some other things too that are just material. And therefore, the whole point about Bhakti Yoga is when you put in the effort, the more effort you put in, the more mercy we get. Therefore, there are some who put in less, and there's some who put in very serious energy into Krishna consciousness. Now, those who don't, they will come back in another life and continue. Some of us are in that situation. As we know, we could go from one temple to another. You realize that there are some people who take this service, it's like their life. You tell them they'll do it, they'll find something to do. And then there's some people too, well, yeah, they come around, they heard about Krishna, but their material thing is more important. Some things they know they can do, but they won't do it, and so on. So then they've done some, they put in some effort, but then they'll have to continue in their next life. So that's what we meant by that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Shreya Mataji, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances.
Accept mine, God. Shreya Prabhupada.
So my question is, you mentioned very nicely about enthusiasm, that stay enthusiastic. But sometimes due to the situations around us, maybe in our office or maybe in our home, the things are not very favorable. At that point, we all know that staying depressed is a very tamasic quality, so we should stay away from that. However, even if we are chanting, sometimes we don't feel enthusiastic. So how do I better that?
It's very simple. And then one easy solution to that is you know that you're not enthusiastic. If you know it, it's there. But you also have association with devotees. There are other devotees, some of whom are enthusiastic. Hang around those people who are enthusiastic, and they will grow on you. Just be around them, have them be your friends, start friendship with those who are enthusiastic. Then they come into your life space, and because of their enthusiasm, when you relate to them, they'll pick you up, just like they say in America. They'll pick you up, and then you become enthusiastic. So it's association of devotees picking deliberately one that actually looks enthusiastic, acts enthusiastic, and speaks very, very enthusiastically. Be around those kind of people and learn from them. Then you'll be that way. Now, as far as those situations and places that make you depressed, that you have to pray and also come up with ideas to change that situation. You don't have to stay in it forever. Life is about change. In the material world, it's about change. So, but change for the better, though. So you can make short-term and long-term plans to change situations that you don't find yourself comfortable. And it's very, very, if you're having such a devastating effect on you, then it's better to get away from that situation. But as far as enthusiasm, hang around devotees who are enthusiastic, and you'll be enthusiastic too. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go to the Prabhupada. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my
Hare
humble
Krishna.
obeisances. Prabhupada.
Go to the Prabhupada.
I came in little late today. Apologize for that. But towards the end, the points you mentioned resonated a lot. I mean, like, I think, I don't know, Yudhishthir Maharaj or Sukdev Goswami was asked this, what is the most surprising thing in this world? And the answer given was that the most surprising thing is people are dying, but we still don't plan for death. The plan for death mostly of any person nowadays is oh, I should have, I have a family, so I need to save some money for them or save a lot for them, and
Yeah.
then keep on keep on growing our wealth, and this and that, and keep on working like anything, as Mataji said, right? And the thing is, we don't realize these things till the life shakes us up, no, till we it's there are three kinds of people. One is one understands just by telling him some things, the other
Yeah.
understands by seeing others, and the other understands by experiencing it. There's a time so sometimes we do some things are so difficult to understand that we don't get them by even seeing people around. It just it happens to us, or or we something shakes us up, and then we start contemplating on life, and then that's where we start to understand, oh, the whole life is like this, and we're doing these things, and we never we never contemplate on these things, what am I doing in my life, what is my goal of what is the goal of my life, is it just earning money? And then you were explaining about all these gadgets and stuff. And the whole culture, because in India we had earlier joint families. Then again it comes we has people got into the greedy thing, and they wanted to earn more, and in that thought process they came out to the cities to work for factories, and so there starts a nuclear family, me and my kids, that's my family. But earlier we used to have three four, mom, dad, basically grandfather, brothers, sisters, and their kids, so a big family. So when they used to stay together, they used to do all the work, the cooking, cleaning the house, and all the stuff, farming for themselves, they were self-reliant. But as and when you go get greedy and try to go outside into the cities, and we are only four people doing the job, and then we have the slowly we start getting into the habit of having big house. I want a bigger house than this guy, or maybe even if we think I want to stay what we can say, um more luxuriously, or without having to do much, or without hurting my body, and we want to stay like that, and we get bigger houses, and then these gadgets. Now I remember the like earlier I have swept the floor with literal sweeping thing. But then I have seen then vacuum cleaners, so then man tends to do the vacuum cleaning thing. So but when we were doing the sweeping by hands, broom, with the broom, it was it was an exercise for the whoever did it, be it
Yeah.
man or woman. And then we used to mop the floors sitting on the floor with that cloth, whereas doing that is basically squatting. So people go to gym and they squat, they do squats, they will do sets, I did 20 sets of squats for my thighs, leg day and this. And then coming to today, vacuum cleaners and this. So what happens is you are not bending down, you are not exercising. Even if you look at these things, it's just ruining our health. And then we are spending 2 hours in gym to do these things. So basically it's all circle, or we are going I have heard this thing, going down in the spiral, just going down in the spiral like that. So
That's what happens in the material energy as things again, you described the examples, bring us to the point that when we think that technology is going to improve our lives, one way or the other, our lives go down too. This what they're describing, the simple way of taking care of our houses was also exercise for us. And then when we got to the machines to do it, then we weren't doing those things anymore, or we were just making it easier for ourselves. But the body has to be worked, therefore the body becomes then very, docile. The body is not as effective. And now, I need to work out this body. So then you go work against a machine just to do it. Imagine that if you need to get someplace in a hurry, normally you will run to that place. But now we're on a machine that's running and stationary just to get the same idea of running. Yeah, so that's what technology has done. But then if you realize that, yeah, then you're on the right track. But if you don't realize that, you think that, we're getting more and more advanced, but actually it is not true. Our quality of life is being ruined in another way, while this technology also is making us think that. That's why I brought the example of the cell phone. Even though it's helping us quite a bit, it is also literally against our health. Then we give examples of don't get the cell phone close to you because it's just all of the time microwaves that's been radiated. Hare Krishna. Dear Krishna Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's a really wonderful class. Very, very practical points. Many points
Krishna's
I
mercy,
like.
Guru's mercy. Yeah.
I had two questions, but in the interest of time, I will ask the important one that I think is more important. So you mentioned about how fortunate we are to be in this movement and this bhakti movement, and how important it is to realize its importance. So I would request you to share. You have decades of experience in Krishna consciousness. You have gone through your own Krishna conscious life, and then also you have seen many devotees going through various struggles. Maybe few points, Prabhu, you can give exact, in a very summary that absolutely those things need to be done to progress in Krishna consciousness.
First thing, chant the holy name of the Lord. No excuses. Chant the holy name of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya came to show just that. He was chanting japa and he was chanting along with devotees. So the life should be chanting, trying to focus on the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Chant out loud. This is Jiva Goswami saying we should do that. Chant out loud so you can hear the holy name. You can have some, in order to help focus, you can have a picture of the Lord in front of you, or in front of your altar, or in front of your computer, and whatever. But as long as you can see also. Then we're using seeing, hearing, and also chanting. Chant the holy name of the Lord, that's the first thing. Whatever you do, that's what takes us back to the spiritual world. That's what purifies us. Number two, stay in association of devotees. Outside devotees are all karmis, and they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere, nowhere near the spiritual world. They're just going to take another body and be in the material world. But our death should be made in such a way, or our death should be passing life's exam. So associate with devotees, that would remind us, because they talk about Krishna and associate with devotees. They're the ones that if you speak about Krishna, they are comfortable with it. If you do activities in Krishna consciousness, they are comfortable with it. That's why you stay with devotees. That's why I also mentioned that your best friend should be a devotee, because best friends are the ones we associate the most with, and even share things in confidence with, has to be a devotee. Now the easy part. Make sure you have Krishna Prasadam at all times. So, chanting the holy name of the Lord, staying in the association of devotees, and also having Krishna Prasadam. That was the first thing. The first set of things that Srila Prabhupada invited. You should come, you should chant, and you also should stay in association with devotees and have Krishna Prasadam. If you do these three, that's a good start. Then, of course, your own energy. Sometimes people have issues, emotional issues, anger issues, depression issues. There are counselors in this society that will help with all of that. It's called Karuna Care, Karuna, Karuna Care. If you go online, you will have issues. You have those who deal with issues like that. If you don't have someone in your temple to actually help with it, then online too, you can get that associated with an experienced devotee that can help you. But the chanting and the association with devotees and Krishna Prasad. The fourth one, actually, the most, and that's also very important, come to the temple, but that actually connects with association of devotees too. You see the deity, but you also get to associate with devotees. So the temple attendance is very good as a way to associate with devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to the Prabhupada. Any other questions or comments? If not, then again, thank you for coming on today to hear. Please keep the attendance up like that. It's wonderful. Everybody, the taste is now created. Just stay with it, and we will all benefit, and we will be the same people headed back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Okay, let me just see one more on here. Okay. All right. Everything has been discussed as far as
Can I make a
that
quick
section.
announcement before we
Sure.
end? And that
Sure.
so today is the appearance of Srila Advaitacharya. We have heard his glories. I posted a short pastime of Sri Advaitacharya on our temple WhatsApp group, and because it's one of Lord Chaitanya's close and eternal associate, we have a special kirtan program at the temple this evening at 6:30 during the evening arti. So we request devotees, if you're able to come for arti, and just sit and chant with the devotees, during arti for the appearance in remembrance and observance of Srila Advaitacharya this evening at 6:30. That would be wonderful. And meditate on him, because it was actually Sri Advaitacharya who actually prayed to the Lord to send, to come and
down.
descend,
Yeah.
to descend to the to this earthly planet to save the souls, because when he was trying to, he noticed that people at that time were not serious in Krishna consciousness. They are not serious in the spiritual life. They were just having a good time, like what's happening in today's world. And Sri Advaitacharya prayed to his Shalgram Shila by using, with tulsi leaf and Ganga water every single, and he was pleading and pleading and pleading and begging every day for a very, very long time for the Lord to descend to save the souls, because he was feeling very sad and sorry for what's going to happen to these materialists who's not taking their Krishna consciousness. And that's why, and because of his prayer, Lord Chaitanya appeared. So we are very fortunate that we have Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda in our temple, and they appeared in our temple in 2023. So it'd be very nice if devotees can, go to the temple at 6:30, in the evening for Aarti, and pray and chant the holy name in Kirtan, and thank Sri Advaitacharya for bringing Nitai Gaurachandra to our temple, so that we can also be saved by the Lord's mercy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So this evening it starts at 6:30. Many of us, including myself, we plan to be there. Possibly I might even play the keyboard. We'll see. But there's a keyboard in the temple now. But we'll try to make it a very enjoyable evening, chanting the holy name of the Lord. So if you can make it, that'll be very nice. Hare Krishna. All right. So thank you again, devotees, for coming. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripasundibhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to the Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to the Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to the